Hello, thank you for stopping by. If you are an old friend, welcome back. And if you are a new friend, welcome in. This is Friday Sews, and today I thought we could talk about the supplies that I ordered last week. They just came in. I want to go over the Jedi costume that I am sewing, give a few updates on that, and also talk about a new to me vintage sewing pattern that I'm excited about. So starting with the supplies that I ordered last week and they have come in, I have them right here. Starting with this giant roll of tracing paper. I thought I had ordered less. I guess I made a split-second decision to go ahead and order the bigger roll. So this is 36 inches wide, so I've got a full yard wide here and 50 yards long. This is enough tracing paper to last me quite a while. I am going to be using this to finish off tracing the Star Wars 4450 costume pattern that I have, and using that to make the Jedi costume out of. Next, I got some fusible interfacing, and I couldn't find good amounts of it. I have a few suggestions that I'm going to follow up on, but this is what I got this time. It is Heat and Bond. This is a medium weight fusible interfacing. I was looking for medium weight, so I was able to find a lot of lightweight, but I had trouble finding medium weight by the yard. It was either heavyweight or lightweight. So these are 20 inches wide and 1 yard long each package, and I got 5 packages. And they were like $2.39, maybe $2 some change per package, I think. It wasn't that expensive. So I got 5 of them, and let's hope I actually like it. Otherwise I have more than I need. But I can always use it on craft projects or something if it's not gonna be great for clothing, like actual functional garments. But I got some medium weight fusible interfacing. I still have my, is it Shirt Tailor color interfacing? I have a lot of that still, but it is just a little bit heavier, and I really like it for the colors, so I didn't want to use it up on other things that weren't colors. So I wanted to try to get something cheaper for other purposes, so I could save the good stuff for when I really want it. Anyways, next I got this 6-pack of Coats & Clark black dual duty thread. My cat is jumping by the camera. Be careful, kitty. And it's exactly what it says. It's just 6 rolls or 6 spools of the thread in here. I really like buying these, just stock up, and that's a good 3 or 4 months at least when I just don't have to worry about thread, unless I want to get something to match top stitching. But I really like that stuff. So that's all of the sewing supplies I ordered. Just a very simple restock and of the basics. All right, I had to kick the cat out of the room. Moving on to a real quick update on the Star Wars tunic that I'm sewing. I am making a video on this, so for the people who are interested in that, there will be more details in the video itself. But I struggled a little bit with the arms on this one, or attaching the sleeves, I guess, because it has this weird ridge thing that sticks out over, like, so you got the sleeve and the shoulder, and there's this part right here that sort of sticks out over the shoulder. And it took me forever to figure out that's what I was supposed to be doing. I was ready to toss this thing across the room and just, you know, burn it or something. I was so frustrated because I couldn't figure out what they were asking me to do. And it was like the simplest instruction ever. Like, it seemed like such a simple step, and I could not figure it out. But silly me, I finally decided to actually look at the costume, like a picture of the Obi-Wan Kenobi costume, and I saw this detail and I was like, oh, that's what they're trying to accomplish. So I've been working on this. It's, don't want to hit the mic. I've been working on this tunic. It's kind of weird, very, very baggy. I don't necessarily like the way the underarms look in this thing, or well, in fact, I aggressively dislike the way they look. But I think it is the way it's supposed to look. It's supposed to be very baggy and loose. So this is what we're working with. I also don't like this sort of like dip here. I feel like this seam should be just a little bit up so that that angle stays straight rather than doing that little tiny dip like it does. So without just making major adjustments to this, which I kind of don't want to do because it is a costume, I think I'm just going to live with it. Once I get the the band, like the facing on here, this might pull it in a little bit and move that seam up just a little bit. If it doesn't, I'm just gonna get really aggressive with ironing and spray starch, and if that doesn't resolve this, it's not the end of the world, because this costume does have a tabard that goes over it, like another piece that covers this up, so only this little edge will be showing underneath that tabard, but that might obscure the like wonkiness of this line. Let's hope. Otherwise, I would have to go back and like redraft the pattern and recut this or something, or just, you know, make adjustments to the pattern, not redraft it. Just adjust the pattern a little bit to fit my shoulders better, which I don't want to do. It's a costume. I'm not wearing this to like a formal ball or anything like that. But you know, I'm really loving the fabric. It's cool, flashy fabric, and it'll be fun to dress up in. You know, something I couldn't wear in my everyday life, but would be fun for special occasions, you know, just for fun. So that's what's going on with this. I need to get the band in and get it hemmed today, and that will be finishing up with this tunic, and I can move on to other pieces. I have just been doing this like in little bursts in the morning before I go to work, so I haven't had like a good long stretch of just sewing on this, which sometimes isn't the best idea to approach a project that way, where it's just little snippets here and there, because you can't get in that like flow, that sewing flow zone where everything's just going. It's like start and stop, and then I have to wrap my head around it again. And there's always the, you know, the little bit of like adjusting the project to where it's flipped inside out or right side out the way you need it for the next step, and everything's laid out so you can pin new things on. So just moving around and handling it slows things down for when I start the next time. And also this fabric frays really badly, so I've been struggling with fraying. I just went ahead and serged off some of the seams that were fraying the worst already, and some of the other ones seemed all right, but then they started fraying again too. So I don't know what to do about that. I don't want to serge off every single edge, but I think I might have to end up doing that, especially when I'm handling it so much. I tried overcasting. Maybe I mentioned this. I think I mentioned this in the video, not in this Friday Sews. Anyways, I tried overcasting the edges, and it doesn't really work that great on this fabric, just because it frays so much and it just did weird bunching. So overcasting is normally my go-to method for finishing off a seam or a raw edge on woven fabric, but it didn't work super great with this one just because of the properties of the fabric. So the serging did the best there, especially with all the like threads that are hanging off loose and it being uneven lengths. I think that's the biggest thing with overcasting, is if the edge is uneven and like wonky already and there are like pieces hanging off, the overcasting just can't fix that very well because it's not cutting off and before it neatens up the seam. I was hoping to sew on this last weekend, but I ended up having to edit my previous video comparing the two patterns a lot longer than I was expecting. I really enjoyed that video. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea if you're not into like cosplay and Star Wars, but I think it's super interesting, but it's a very specific type of nerdery that not a lot of people are necessarily interested in, but it's one of my favorite videos I've ever made because I just really enjoyed making it. So I'm going to continue on this weekend with this project, and I hope to get a lot of work done on it because I'm not going to be making any other videos. This one will be edited before the weekend. So that's what I'm doing with this. And moving on to the vintage sewing pattern I got. This is Vogue 9496. I haven't looked up what year this is from. See if I can figure it out, but let me show it to you. I just got a new fancy light also, so it is blazing sun bright right there, so I'm trying to get this without the terrible reflection. I just thought this was kind of a cool looking, I mean, first of all, it's just a cool looking pattern, which is 80% of the point of these patterns. I tried my best. I don't know how well you can see this. Maybe I should take it out of the plastic packaging. But this is a very basic sewing pattern. You got front, back, collar, sleeve, and if you do the long sleeve, there's a cuff. You can also put two pockets in the front. So I thought I would use this to make a couple of like hang around like sewing shirts, especially with the pockets in the front. I wanted to make some like I guess, sewing smock almost sort of thing. Easy to get on and off, like it's not tight around the neck, just super comfy. Some pockets to stick things in. And it's a cool vintage pattern at the same time. So let me look into this and see if I can figure out what year it's from. I ordered this, I didn't realize it came from England. Which by the time I got it, I forgot I had ordered it even because it took so long to get here. But the stamp on front that shows like what fabric store it came from. This says like non-returnable or whatever. This one says Marshall and Snellgrove, which is a very British sounding fabric store. Something about not possible to exchange patterns. It says Vogue Pattern Service, the Condé Nast Publications Limited, 2237 St. John Street, Clerkenwell, London, ECI. That's the address on the front. And I haven't taken this out at all. It looks factory folded. Oh. So I definitely need to trace this off. There has been some damage to the pattern. That light. That light's great in the distance and terrible up close. So you see this damage to the pattern here. This is an unprinted pattern. Got all the little pieces here. It doesn't look like this damage is getting any worse. But I do want to trace this off as soon as I can so I have it and I don't have to handle this pattern any more than necessary. And the instructions is what I'm looking for to see if there is a date on here. So the fabric, or the paper is not brittle at all or anything. It doesn't feel like it's about to break. It's very pliable, almost too much, maybe because there's more moisture in it than there needs to be. I guess coming from Britain, it would make sense that it's not terribly dry, since it's a very damp island. Well, the instructions are very, very straightforward. I probably don't even need to read these instructions to complete this. Looking for a date. I don't know. I'm looking for a date, I can't find it. Let me Google this real quick, see if I can figure out the date because this is bugging me now. According to Vintage Patterns Fandom, it was made in 1958, which seems right. I can't independently corroborate that, but 1958 seems spot on for that. It's late 50s moving into the 60s. Shirts like that, I found a lot of patterns from the early to mid 60s for shirts like that. They changed a little bit into the 70s. The neckline started plunging so you could see chest hair and stuff as you moved into the 70s. I got a couple of the late 60s patterns that have the deep V instead of the placket that folds over and, you know, provides some level of modesty, I guess, as chest hair came into fashion during the 70s. So super fun pattern. I am going to make this. I got to find some fabric for it. I still have other things on my back burner. This pullover, moving into summer, it's probably too hot for this pullover, but I'm still going to make it from this kit from the early 80s that I showed it a couple of Friday sews back now. That should be a quick one to do. And the Barbie clothes I am going to be working on again, but that puts me into further out projects, which will be the Revolutionary War uniform costume. Not an accurate uniform, it's not what I'm going for. I'm making a costume of the uniform. So I'm not doing any research or historic accuracy or anything like that. It's just something to have fun with. That's all any of this stuff is. It's just creative sewing. And that's what I really enjoy doing, is just fun creative sewing. I am not a tailor and I'm not aspiring to be a tailor. I think is an important distinction to make. One of the reasons I started making YouTube videos is because when I started sewing, I had trouble finding content that I could connect to. A lot of the menswear sewing videos are oriented towards making tailor-made perfection, or, you know, fashion design, something like that. And it's all just a little bit too highbrow for me. This is a hobby. I have a career. I have a, you know, professional life that doesn't involve sewing. It's entirely just a creative outlet for fun. If I want like an impeccably tailored shirt, I'm gonna go to a tailor. If I want a really like a perfect pair of pants, I'm gonna go buy them from somebody, have them tailor fitted. You know, I have access to clothing that is well made. I don't have to be able to make it myself. So the homemade clothing that I make, it fits a certain niche in my life. It's not necessarily everyday wear. I use it for usually fun times when I'm relaxed. I don't, I want to look sort of funky and creative. I want to stand out from the crowd and look like a little bit of a weirdo and just sort of express myself and my own uniqueness. I don't necessarily care if it is perfectly made. I am always striving to do better. That's part of the fun, but I am not striving for tailor-made perfection. I'm not a tailor. I have a lot of respect for tailors. I know how hard that is, but I think that you can be a guy who's sewing and not be striving for perfection, which is often not conveyed very well in any sort of media form. If you have stayed all the way through this rant, I really appreciate you. If you've liked the video, please give it a like, and if you have not already, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the future. Get down, cat. Don't meow at me.